Okay. Hello, everyone who's here today. Thank you for signing up and joining today's best webinar. As a special guest speaker today, we have Dr. Ronnie from Basai, and he will be speaking about the near future of education. So thank you, Dr. Ronnie, again for coming today and for speaking. As a reminder for everyone today, there will be 15 minutes at the end of this webinar. We will have it as a Q&A session. So if anyone has anything to ask, please keep your questions for then. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Rani.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you very much for inviting me to share my sessions here. My name is Dr. Ronnakorn Vaiyavuth, or people call me Dr. Ronnie. Yeah, it's all about the near future of education, and allow me to share my screen so I can go through like the whole content quickly. Oh. All right, okay. So the screen are clear. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, let's do it. So we have 45 minutes, right? Okay, that's great. So the topics today is about the near future of education, right? I'm not going to the detail of like pedagogies and all those like hard stuff, but I'm just going through what would like the main point of this today sort of like sharing session is about what could be like the near futures of education? Why do we have to change? And if we have to change, like, you know, how we're going to change it and in which direction that we need to change it to be for. So yeah, just a little bit brief of everything that about myself. I'm the Bangkokian, so I did my primary school and secondary school in St. Gabriel College. I did my Bachelor of Chemical Engineering in Ronnakorn University, and then I did my Master in Energy Planning and Policies in University of Technology, Sydney. I completed my PhD in Innovation Management in Telecom Business School or Telecom de École Management in France. A couple of places that I like the workplace that I've been through. I used to work with a Queensland government as the a senior energy analyst in Brisbane for a couple of years, and then I moved to the state in Bangkok doing like energy and climate change consultant in EIM before I turned my career into sort of like the academia, you know. So I teach PhD and master students in Bangkok universities about innovation and knowledge management. Then I moved to Ronnakorn University as a director of innovation in CU Innovation Hub, I think 5 years ago. A few years back, I just moved again, not like within universities, but I moved from CU Innovation Hub to become a faculty member in the School of Integrated Innovation, or SCI, which I'm still working there, and hopefully for quite some time. My passion, apart from the academic, it's like you can see, I love all the sports. So I have a big Liverpool football like fan club. I do all American, like follow all American sports. So if you like, you know, baseball, basketball, American football, or even MMA, then I'm the one who go through. My specialization will focus mainly on two of my both academics and professional experience. The first one will be all about energy planning, renewable energies, clean technology, something like that, and energy policy. And the second domain will be all about innovation ecosystem, how to build entrepreneurship spirit and mindset, startup ecosystem, something like that. So this is everything about me in one page. Hope we can find like something in common together, and maybe we can have a chance to chat later on after the pandemic, of course. All right, I'll just begin with these figures. All right, I mean, education is the one of the most sort of like important sectors, I mean, industries in the global, in the world. I mean, it's a $1 trillion industry. If you can see, like, every expenditure on education itself into the year 2000, it's 1.3 trillion. All right. 12 years back, it's 3.3 trillion. And I don't have absolute numbers for last year, 2020 figures, but it's approximately around 5.5 trillion US dollars. So it's a huge sort of like valuable industry indeed. And this is not thing to do about the near future of anything. I just want to point out that, like it or not, I mean, people spend like huge amount of money into the education industry, whether you are a learner, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent of the learner or students. I mean, everything combined, it's a big bucks there. All right. If you're talking about the near future or the future of the education, right? I go through like there's a website, no, a report that sort of like combine. They go into interviews a top sort of like tech guys, guru, expert on the education fields and the field that related like closely to education sectors. All right. I pick I think 7 or 8 people, and they sort of like a summaries of what they demonstrate their opinion through this interview. I'll go through with you one by one just to give you an overview of what others has been like, what other perspective on the near future of education will be from the people like around the globe, right? So the first one is Seth Kravis, right? He is the CEO of PH Learn. I mean, quite a good like value startups in the state. So he mentioned that online learning will switch from being a punchline to a respected option. What do you think? I mean, given that like about all these pandemic times, right? That I mean, even my school in Ronnakorn University, we're still doing online. The semester just opened like last week. Yeah, last week. And so basically, I mean, he might be right. Online learning will move from like optional to become a more respectful option indeed, right? What do you think? Excuse me. Then Richard Wells, right, the founder of Edu Wells, right? This dude mentioned that school becomes an exploratory place where the structures are designed for each individual to learn and develop their strengths. All right, so school isn't school anymore. So it's more like a laboratory for you guys to explore things, right? And it's sort of like the structure is more customized to an individual who, like, you can basically select on what you want to learn in the future, right? Maybe it's happening, like, I think it's pretty very soon as well. The third one is Naomi Harms. She's a women leaderships and K-12 edtech specialist in the innovative educator consulting, right? She gives a pretty powerful views on the future of education, right, will become fully automated by the progressive transformation of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and real-world teaching and learning experiences. So automation, right, progressive transformation of AI and all those technologies, augmented reality, virtual realities, and so on, that will enhance teachings and learning experiences in the future. Then we have Tom Dolphy, the head of marketing at Pathfinder. I think most of you know Pathfinder quite well. He emphasized the digital revolution, which we have witnessed in most sectors hasn't been fully embraced in education yet, but it inevitably will. So somehow in the near future, right, there will be a digital revolution, like, embedded or applied in the education industry for sure. Next, we have Peter Awai, which is CEO and co-founder of Prezi. I think you guys know Prezi as well. Prezi is the power sort of like another type of presentation, like platform that you might want to consider to use to pitch to develop your pitch deck rather than using PowerPoint or Keynote. He mentioned that there is notable uptick in the demand for remote learning options and subsequently the need for the remote classroom. So everything will be online, everything will be remotely operated in terms of teachings, learnings, and facilitating the education system in general. Next, we have Chris. Chris is the senior project manager of Early Adopter, right? His view is quite interesting that he mentioned that I believe the future of education is immersive learning. Good word. A unique philosophy around how education can intersect with the emerging technologies of augmented and virtual reality. So he's the other one who believes that the conventional education pattern will sort of like change into a new approach that integrate several technologies in that include augmented realities and virtual reality, of course. The last one that I want to show today is from Sarah, the founder of Fab Lab Hub. I think her view is quite powerful. I mean, quite good, and I think it's applicable to the current situation quite well. She mentioned that in our research with 200 manufacturers, it is clear employers are looking for specific skill, not degrees any longer. So I mean, they look like the employers look for like skill competencies, not like a piece of paper that that guarantee that you are graduate from a certain university any longer. I think this trend is coming like very fast, and you will see like people don't. I mean, I got a question from my student like almost every semester that why should I be here in the university? I look at Mark Zuckerberg, I look at this person and that person, right? And he like they don't even have a degrees, but they are super successful in the world, But that's a big sort of like argument, discussions, and it doesn't really go into one direction that whether it's good or bad to go to universities. But I think you need to include lot of factors into your considerations as well. So just to sum up on their point of view, right? I summarize into these pictures here. Which the first one, right? We need people that skillful. We need a certain skill just to make us like ready, or just to become aligned with the needs or the goal of the certain employers. All right, we definitely need a custom-made or the tailor-made sort of like education programs or course program for your degrees or even non-degrees, because each people sort of like we're trying to look for competency rather than for like the degree in general. So the program should be customized and sort of like tailor-made to what student and sort of like enhance or strengthen the student individual competency rather than do a mass education like we used to do in the conventional style of learning, teaching in the previous year. It definitely will have a digital revolution within the education itself. If you look at how we teach, like now, I'm teaching on Zooms and Microsoft Teams and stuff. Like we hardly go to the schools, and everything is online. And so I think digital revolution is about to take over the education sectors, right? The trend of multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary is just getting stronger and stronger. There's a lot of research and studies sort of like conclude that we might not need to have a solid competencies, like, if you want to work and survive in the 21st, 22nd century any longer. So we need to be discipline. We need to have a lot of knowledge in different fields just to be survive in those competitive world. AI, machine learning, robots, automation will definitely come into education sectors. I mean, we might have a robot teaching, you guys on math and calculus, physics, and so on, right? AI and machine learning as a technique has been integrated into a high profile edtech startups like since 5 to 10 years back. So I think it's become one of the most important part if you want to be scalable, if you want to be bigger in your education startup. Remote learning is quite inevitable. I mean, you can't really deny that. I mean, to increase the accessibility of the student just to learn or to get education, remote learning is one of the a good tools that you can apply. And then for the last figures, immersive learning. So, I mean, if you compare to like those MOOC classroom or just normal e-learning, right? There's quite a bit of weaknesses in some particular fields. So, I mean, like say, for example, if you do MOOC, MOOC, it will be super difficult for you if you use MOOC for the hands-on workshops or subjects, right? I mean, you just MOOC is just for theories and text-based studies. I mean, but if you, I mean, that is the reason why the immersive learning, which combine a lot of different tools and techniques, right? Sort of become a super hot topic so far. So this is more like the overview of big pictures of what people are what they're thinking about the future of education just now. And then if you move to the from the individual perspective, right? If you move into the sort of like intergovernment perspective, right? The OECD just launched a learning framework 2030s, right? Which is sort of like, I think it is still working progress. But the overall sort of like flows and component in these frameworks are pretty much aligned with the summary of the expert point of view that I just did explain to you in the previous slide. So we're talking about knowledge, right? Skill, attitude, and value, which is sort of like an input to feed into the students, right? And those three sort of a core component we will combine as a competencies, which will be injected into the students, all right? With the help of parents, teacher, peers, and communities, and so on. There will be a certain technique for OECDs, for example, like action, reflection, anticipation framework, which I'm not going to go through that. It's going to take like a few hours to go through. But with all this stuff, right, the goal of the framework is to create a well-being in 2030 for individual and societal. Which to me, like it quite quite aligned with what AX7 people just mentioned previously. There's another super hot topic so far at this moment is about soft skills and 21st century skills, right? There's a lot of research and studies conclude that we need sort of like these 16 skills to survive in the 20th, in the 21st century. Just to make it more simple is that this is the 21st century skill that we need to equip to our students just to make them be at sufficient competitive level to survive in the 21st century. And the overall achievement is it's all about lifelong learning. In those 21st century skills, right, they divide into three categories, which are foundational literacies, competencies, and character qualities. All right. If you look at the foundational literacies, it's more like a core skill. It's more like the fundamental based, like principle that we use to learn. So it's about literacy, numeracy, scientific literacy, ICT, finance, culture, and civil literacy, something like that. It's a core knowledge that we all like um, learn in everyday life in our school, in universities, so. All right, that's a foundational literacy that we need to conclude. Um, for the second part of the 21st century skill that you might need to equip, it's more about competency. It's more about how students approach complex challenges. You look at critical thinking and problem solving, which is one of the key, right? Of course, creativity has to come. I mean, without creativity, we can't invent innovate any innovation, right? So creativity is there. Communication is super important. How can you like communicate with other stakeholders? How can you communicate and interpret your innovation, your creativity to others and execute it in the proper way? Lastly, for this competency segment, we have collaboration, because we believe that we can't, like for the sake of innovation per se, right? You can't really innovate alone. So you somehow we need to collaborate with someone. We need to cooperate with someone. We need to co-evolve with a certain group of people just to be able to execute it faster, like better, in the higher qualities, and also probably like reduce your cost. So basically, the whole thing, this 4C is quite, I think, popular in the in the internet and over, like a recent research that we need to have this 4C: critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration as a core competency for 21st century skill. Then we have character qualities, which it's more like how the student can approach their changing environment, right? We need to have a curiosities in your student. You need to have initiative, right? Okay, persistent and great, adaptivity, leaderships, and social and cultural awareness. So if you can buy this whole 16, I mean, for sure, like to be fair, right? I mean, if you include the whole 16 inject the whole 16 skills into you, right? You will become a Superman, or at least almost an Einstein, right? I mean, people cannot like really equip all those 16 skills. Or, I mean, even though they want to, they might not have time to complete the whole sort of like studies, or um, don't have time to attend the whole programs for these 16 skills. Um, People say like, I mean, for the 21st century skills, right? Do we need to really like, focus on the foundation, like or those math, calculus, physics, chemistry are still requiring like us to learn, or do we just skip to the competencies? Like, if you focus on 4C, can we survive on the 21st century? Um, to me, it's pretty difficult to predict, but as a lecturer, as a professor in the universities, right? I would say that, I mean, the foundations of foundational literacies are extremely important. I mean, math, finance, chemistry, physics might not be something that help you, like or maybe not be a subject or a skill that you use while you're working. Like for example, I'm graduate from chemical engineering, right? If you if you if you let me go back to the Ronnakorn universities and do the exam of the chemical, like engineering subject stuff, I might fail like immediately, easily. I haven't used that like since I graduated, but still, I think it's a beginning step. It doesn't teach you to be like it doesn't really like focus on teaching you to become an expert on this field, but it sort of like it teaches you how to really use it, how to think semestrically, how to like operate as I mean in the best condition. It helps you to better make a better decision when you are in the critical circumstances, So I think foundation is super important. Competency is also one of the important elements of the 21st century skills, which are those character qualities. I mean, if you can, increase your grade, if you have a lot of curiosity in your life, I think you're gonna be sort of like and better um, engaged to other circumstances. If you already have the foundation and competencies, and then all those character qualities will just strengthen your appearance, which is enhance your productivity. And I think those will be the key. So I think these three components are equally important. So don't like just focus on competency itself, or you don't just focus on foundation itself, or don't just build up the curiosity, but without having any knowledge on the foundation principles or competencies. So three are equally important to me. In the recent day, right, apart from 21st century skill, there are some people who want to sort of like tweak the concept a little bit and propose the 22nd century skills. But if you look at chart in the figures, right, you will see the foundational literacies and character qualities are remain the same as previous 21st century skills. The competency that change become care, connection, culture, and community, rather than critical thinking, collaboration, communications, and creativity. Um, but if you look closely to the chain, to the evolution of 21st century skill to the 22nd century skills, um, particular on the competency part, care, connection, culture, community is more like on the soft skill. Super soft skill. Um, because I think I'm not sure, but I just guess from the guys who not invent from the guy who proposed this framework, that people are if you move toward the term which we call a global citizen, which it's been widely used at this stage. I think as a global citizens, right, we need more care to each other. Connectivities and communities are the key. All right, and the blend, the blending the culture that's been transformed from one to another is super important. If you can't really adapt yourself to another culture, or if you can't really adapt yourself to I don't know, maybe you could have a centralized culture for the global citizen, then that would be like, very, that would put you into a very bad situation to live in the 21st and second centuries. But still, this two figure is like, a predictive sort of like um, research or the outcome or the result. We'll see. But for sure, right? Foundational literacies and character qualities have remain there. So I think this two will be one of the most important for sure. All right. Yes, fixed mindset, growth mindset, right? We have been like talking about this all the times, like for the over past 5-6 years. We don't need fixed mindset here. We need growth mindset and so on, which is, this is quite true. But uh, it's not easy to build your growth mindset, and it's not easy to get rid of the fixed mindset in your mind. So I think, but at least at least you know that the fixed mindset, will not make any progress on your, like, they won't do any good from your performance and productivity. So if you can adjust yourself a bit to the growth mindset, or if you can trying to improve your growth mindset inside you, then that will be brilliant. All right. Carl Hooker once offer, like, what he called the new futures ready called curriculum. So basically what he proposes that, if we can reinvent, all right, if we can reinvent the overall curriculum, like, from high school, from secondary school, universities, he will change the whole principle of, like, there will be no mathematics class, there will be no finance class. And he sort of like proposed these eight core subjects, which are in like, for example, entrepreneurialism, creative expression, communications and design, critical problem solving, mindfulness, investigating investigative thinkers, and also the last one is collaborative outreach. But the point is, it's obvious that we can't really like overhaul the entire education curriculum just like that, right? So, sort of like the most important, the more important part is how to tweak the current curriculum that we have to adapt with this future-ready curriculum that Carl Hooker's proposed. All right. So maybe in mathematics class, we might need to include those critical problem solving and entrepreneurialisms and investigative thinking into the class, rather than we just focus on like how to derive the equations, how to do like different, like, and so on. Like, for example, science, right? Social science is good base. It's a research, a scientific, like, it's a good base of all these innovations and say like startups, right? So basically, if you put more critical problem solving into the science-based like subject, or maybe like you put more on the environmental mindfulness into the science as a subject, or maybe collaborative outreach and within the science subjects, then the student might be able to see the science in different aspects, not just like science like laboratory stuff. A equal B is C, something like that. All right. And so on. I mean, if you want to look at the on the right hand side of the screen, you will see like this is actually quite well mapping if you want to map the new like future curriculum from Carl Hooker into like the typical conventional outline of curriculum. All right, this is just another thought. Okay. Oh, the time's flying. Damn, I got 10 minutes. I mean, this is not about, not to brag my I don't know about bragging my workplace, right? But I mean, it's just news that Chulalongkorn make world top 100 universities for academic reputation in QS World University ranking this year. Super strong position. But I mean, people say like, education industry are being disrupted. All right, I hope you guys heard that, right? Then why we need a brand new school like my school now into universities that already be a top 100 of the, education academic reputations in the world. I mean, if we are doing so well, right? Just like to be fair, right? Chulalongkorn University, like to enter top 100 in the world ranking it's something, right? It's mean we are doing quite good. But why do we need a brand new school like my school? Why they launched my school just like that during in the middle of like increase of the reputation and super strong academic profile, something? Why? Um, the easy sort of like quick answer to that is because we have been witnessed the super rapid change of these four things: technology, business, environment, and lifestyle. I mean, things that you invent, right? Things that you innovate, right? It might be obsolete within like 2-3 hours or 2-3 a few days, So the change in technology and business and environment and lifestyle has been, it's there. So that's why we need to invite, change, adapt, or even disrupt ourselves just to be ready for that, right? If you look at the trend, right, of the education reinventing, we have to make a two trend indeed. The first one is global mega trend. It's something that we knew it's gonna come, right? We foresee it that it's coming for sure. We also have another thing which is tech disruption trend. It's exponential growth of disruptive technologies, but we don't really know what it is. And I mean, we can't really like, we don't if we don't know that it's coming, right, then how can we prepare for it, right? I will just give you more example of these two sort of like mega trend. If you look at the global mega trends, right, the population boom, right? We know that. I mean, now we reach 7,300 million in population, I mean the world population, right? Um, Super fast. Like it mentioned, we have grown from 1 billion people to 7 billion people in just 200 years. That's super fast. We foresee it. We know it's going to come, right? We have the rapid urbanizations, right? Like back in 1800, we only 3% of the world population live in the cities, but today it's 50% of the world population live in the cities. So rapid urbanization, it's coming. We know it's coming. Climate change, come on. People know, like, we got snow in Vietnam, we got snow in Laos. Come on, it doesn't really like happen like previously, right? Environment degradation, obviously. Wealth inequality, obviously, right? Those are the trend, like aging society as well. So those are the trend that we foresee it's gonna come. That's obvious. That's mega trend. All right. I just skipped to, I mean, COVID-19 will stay with us forever. That's gonna, I mean, it's a mega trend and we foresee it. We knew it. It's just there, Then we move into the tech, like, disrupt 10, which it's gonna come up. We don't really know what's coming, right? I mean, imagine, like, if oh, sorry, if you are a sleeping beauty, I mean, if you are like, for example, if you are ladies, these ladies, right? She live in Shenzhen, right? 1990, before, like, 30 years ago in 1990, she fell asleep. All right. The view on the left hand side is more like the last memory in her mind, if she's like, before she went to sleep. 300 years after, same place, Shenzhen, 2020, this is going to be the view that she wake up and see for the first time in her life. I mean, it's completely turned around of the a rural-based area with forest, mountain, and so on, become like, super high intensities, like, busy high-rise buildings and all of those stuff. All right, this is something that, we don't really, like, foresee it for sure in the previous years. If you look at the growth in the computing powers, right? We used to have, like, computers that equal to one insect brain in 2000s, right? Now we have like around almost a human brain for one computers, and then we have they predict that in the next 2055, the computer will be equal to all human brain. If you look at this intelligence staircase, right, you will see the ant in the lower rank of the stair. You get chickens there, you get monkeys there, and you see humans there. All right, this is a closer look into the intelligence staircase. But if you look a bit further, then you will see this is the biological range. We are competing with this biological, like, competitor. But if you look far away to the artificial super intelligence, it's up there. I mean, amazing, right? AI is going to come for sure. If you look at AlphaGo, like, a couple of years back, it managed to win with the a world, like the first world ranking of the Go, like, players, 4-1. All right, it repeat again in 2017. So it defeat 19 years old Chinese champion 3-0, right? This is crazy. I mean, these two are one of the best ever, and it just it's just unbelievable that, like the AI can simply beat a guy just like that, you know. Uh, Another scary thing is, I mean, if you look at these figures, right, the AlphaGo Zero, which is just recently developed last year, beat AlphaGo version that he won over the Korean champion 4-1 on 2016, like 100 times out of 100 competition contest with them. This is crazy. This is like, we don't, for AlphaGo Zero, we don't even teach them. We allow them to learn by themselves and without any human direction on how to learn. The computer is actually like performing better than the computer, like the one that we guide them to learn. This is crazy, man, right? So the AI war will be there for sure. There will be a war between like who's gonna take over. I mean, who's gonna win? Like, these AI machine learning war, it will lead the world. And this is come out from the word of Vladimir Putin in September 2017. All right. So I mean, it's there. We live in the VUCA world, so a lot of volatilities, a lot of uncertainties, a lot of complexities, and a lot of ambiguity. All right. We used to have this education like this, like, since 19th centuries, right? We got a big board in the front, we got a lot of students, like, charting the note and so on, right? The dude from Stanford mentioned education must adapt the fourth industrial revolution. So I mean, this is not about what we want to teach students, but I mean, the whole education must adapt itself to, I mean, the revolution of other segment or other sectors, industrial sector, right? This is amazing. I mean, if you look at this cartoon, right? I mean, we call it a digital native, right? So I mean, it's not about going out there and just pick your notebooks and learn from what your professor is teaching in the front of the room, but it's more about, I mean, students sometimes, right? I mean, just to be fair, right? If I teach physics today, and if he opened his laptops, right, and there's a content of a professor in MIT teaching physics, the same thing, same class, same subject that I'm teach. So how can we teach the student like that? That's a big question for to ask. I mean, for our instructors and professor. I mean, to me, but to me, in my point of view, right? I mean, to become a 21st century instructor or professor, we don't. I'm not going to. We're not become like we are not like the one who teach any longer. I mean, not to teach any longer. I think the teacher or instructor sort of like role will become more like facilitator of the student. Um, well, not like facilitators, but I think it's more like to mentor or incubate or nurture a student, like, competencies, not to teach them one way any longer. All right, I think um, this is quite new, and I mean, to become as a facilitators or mentors or incubator for the student, to grow up in the way that they want to be, or to enhance in those individual competency, that's way more important than inject direct sort of like um, uh, knowledge to them. All right. Um, I think time is running up, so I've just skip some of my slides. Um, in fact, in July, I will give you examples, right? In July, if you see, like, July is a speedboat model. I mean, July is more like a cruise, a big cruise, right? Similar to a lot of like large corporate around the world. So we can't really shift ourselves. We can't really turn it quite like swiftly like we want to be. Which is fine. It's a fact. It's logic, right? But I mean, with this time of changing, the pace is like changing super fast. We have like those trend, soft skills and competent, like everything. How can July turn? So that's why July sort of like initiate a new school called School of Integrated Innovation. This is more like a sandbox, right? This is more like a school that moves faster. All right. So and we implement the sandbox of like principles and mindset, so we can change, we pivot every time, we change our curriculum, we reflect ourselves to the reality. So this is what we plan, and this is what we believe that might be sort of like related to 21st century skill and the 22nd century skill, like, pretty much. So we have a unique curriculum. All right, we have a super unique curriculum. We have a truly international, and we have the financial sustainability, which is super fine. We don't do anything in silo, so we break the traditional silo structure out. I mean, to be able to solve the world's problem now, we don't need only one discipline. So that's why we need something we call transdisciplinary. So this is the discipline of our school. um, Steve Jobs once said, like, we need technologies and liberal art together just to innovate something which is have a significant impact to the user or to the global citizen in general. So that's why we come up with a brand new degree, which is the School of a Bachelor of Art and Science. in integrated innovation program, or we call it BASI in general, right? So this is a transdisciplinary mixed degree with combined art and science together, this is what I teach now. So the element of the school consists of 5 key elements, which are sustainability, entrepreneurship, innovation, internationalities, and transdisciplinary. So this is our 5 key elements school. The goal from our school is to exactly align with the future trend of the education or that I just previously mentioned. So we want to develop a global citizen who are empowered to negotiate over the lifetime the challenge of changing the world. So this is our main goal, right? If you look at this sort of like core curriculum or the program structure, it's quite different from other conventional school, because we equip all 21st century skill. We also equip them a core knowledge and core business. We have a bit part of internships and startup, which just make them like, initiate something, execute some things. And we have 4 different specialization, which I think it's quite matched to the need of the skill in the 21st century world. Our strength is, like I mentioned, right, we don't innovate alone. So we don't do this thing alone. So I think we need an ecosystem. And like I mentioned, we emphasize the innovative ecosystem. We include all the related stakeholders, like the school includes startups. Like we have over 70 mentors, like startup mentors in our program. We have lots of investors who are ready to fund the project of the student. We have lots of entrepreneurs help our student around, and we also have the support from government agency, which is more like the just nice and compact ecosystem that we have. The school program, we just trying to, like I mentioned, create a global citizen, which will be super like great fit to the future worlds, and which rely on to future education for sure. So those global citizen will be like, can be like innovation entrepreneur, in a technology innovator. It can be social transformer, and it can be the professional of the digital age. So these 4 will like not combine, the main focus of our output from the school. All right. So the world will never be the same again, right? And people equip lots of things into the learning patterns. And I think, like I mentioned, communication is the key. Like James Bryce mentioned, I think 100 years ago, communication is the key to education, understandings, and communication is the key to education, understanding, and peace. So without those tech, right? Without this tech, be prepared. We're gonna have like a lot of these, like, technology involvement into our educations and our learning system, just to make it more productive, just to optimize the process, like all those telepathy, like, customer chatbot, molecular communication, holographic display, and so on. All right. Finally, last slide. I think the near future of education will simply sort of like aim for building something that we call global citizen. We might, it will become the boundaryless world. We might not need to learn English or other language, because even we speak like Thai to Italian people, and then like those AI machine learning can automatically just translate them into, like, Italian language. I don't know, maybe, but this is the goal of to be global citizens. So we have to be prepared for it. And I think the future of education, when those 21st century skills and so on, are probably one of the best sort of like tools that we can equip to our students, and make sure they are ready to become a global citizen eventually. All right, that's nonstop 50 minutes. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Right now, we'll head over to the Q&A session. If you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself and turn on your camera. And yeah, so if anyone has questions.
Hi, my name is Teddy. Are there any concerns regarding the AI in the future possibly taking away jobs of people who, like teachers, for example?
Okay, cool. Well, to me, right? I mean, it's a double-edged like sword, you know. Um, I don't think it's a concern. I look at AIs and machine learning and all those techniques as a supportive tool to my job descriptions. All right, those AI and stuff supposed to make my life much easier. For example, right? If I initiate a quiz to you guys, all right, and the students in my class, I might end up spend like 10 like give you marking your quiz 2 hours. All right, and if I use AI and machine learning just to like convert those 2 hours into like 2 minutes, and I get those results straight away, I have like 1.5 hours left to somehow have a look at your strength and weaknesses individually and sort of like revert or adjust my course syllabus or course outline to fit your needs. So I think it's more like the way you look at it. I mean, for sure. I mean, if you for a simple sort of like knowledge like ABC, like all those like universal rule 1 + 1 = 2, then I mean computer can be easily like teach instead of human, and that eventually allow human to invent something greater than that. All right, so I don't think it to me, right, personally, I don't think it's gonna harm any my future and all. But I mean, if you carefully know how to deploy it, and I think it's gonna help and make your life much easier than before.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Hello, I'm
Yes.
Track.
It's
I was like wondering like if like the future of education will change, like would there be some changes, or what do you think might be the change in like the future of like jobs and like working like experience as well?
okay. I think the future of education will change. But I mean, the change in education will align with the change in jobs and all those economic change and technological change and industrial change. To me, I don't think education will be the forefront to lead those change. But I think to me, education is more like to facilitate those change, make sure that those change are smooth. All right, because if we talk about change, right, it takes time. That's why we have to study change management. It takes time. It's not easy. And I think education will just help a human being like be a better prepared to those change, or maybe like to absorb the change like in the better way, in the positive way, rather than hesitate to change and so on. So I think education will occur. I mean, as a facility after the change in say like industrial revolutions or the technological change. So I don't think there is any um, well, there's a strong linkages between these two, but I don't think education is the forefront, or I mean, it's a leader of those change. But I think the change in education, it's obviously follow, or I mean, trying to comply with the change of those industrial jobs and so on.
Thank you very much.
So,
Um, sorry if like no one's asking. Can I have ask another question?
oh, take your time.
Because I'm really like interested in the Best Side program, but then
Okay.
like my question is like if we finish the major in
Sure.
like, and then is there like some like system or like a foundation in Thailand that would like allow like people who finish this major to be able to like grow in Thailand? Like maybe if they want to start like some innovation business or like something like that, is there like some kind of foundation already that could help the students
Oh
grow?
yes, for sure. I mean, um, like I mentioned, right? The goal of Basa is not just to build a startup. We're just trying to equip, we're trying to produce a global citizen which will be fully aligned with the needs of employers in the near future. In Thai, right? I mean, if you look at the output that we aim to build, which are social transformer, right? Technology innovators or innovative entrepreneur. You can find those roles in almost every large corporate, just to be at the high level first. I mean, if you look at say like PTT or SCGs, right? I mean, these three roles is become be heavily involved in a key business unit in those big corporate in Thailand. Um, it's also fine if you want to build your own business, because we have equipped you with all those tools that you need to in order to build your own business. So even though we are pretty much super new, right, just 2 years old, but I think based on the connectivities, based on the ecosystem that we're trying to sort of create and expand, I think there will be a good group of people who appreciate the content that we teach to the student, and there will be a good group, a good amount of group that appreciate the outcome as a graduate from our school. So I mean, we try, like I mentioned, a lot of people, a lot of students come to ask me that, I mean, if I don't want to be a startup, can I study Basai? Yes, for sure. I mean, we don't ask you guys to be a startup, all right? But entrepreneurship spirit can be simply applying to all professional career. You know, we don't ask you to be entrepreneur, but I mean, if you have entrepreneurship mindset in your mind, then it easily apply. Even you are engineer, even you are like analyst, you know. So we're trying to focus on mindset rather than an outcome or the process. So to answer your question, yes, there will be a foundation of, I mean, if you look at, like I mentioned, a large corporate, there are certain positions that open for you, and also if you want to continue your graduate study, studies on postgraduate, then it will be like easier, because we have talked to even in July, um, it's transdisciplinary. So basically, you have an adequate sufficient knowledge to go to study master in liberal arts. If you take a specialization toward that way, you can simply go to study in Master of Engineering if you say, for example, go for AI and robotics specialization, something like that. So I mean, we have 4 specializations on health and well-being, AI and robotics, sustainable development, and smart city and inclusive community. So this 4 is more or less everything. So if you pick the right one, I mean, not the right one, if you pick the one that you like, then I'm pretty sure you can link those specialization to to other faculties.
You understand now. Thank you.
Sure.
There's one question that was submitted in the forums, and someone asked if should education be free for all students?
Okay. I think it's free until what, high school now, right? University level, I'm not very sure. I mean, it like to me as a professor, university professor, yes, I really like it to be free for all students. I mean, but if you look at the world in realities, right, it might not be possible to sort of like fund every student in the world or even in Thailand to study universities. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, at this stage, right, especially in Thailand, right, we have lots of scholarships. We have lots of like, I mean, even in Basai, we have the scholarship, we have partial scholarship, we have activity scholarship, we have good student scholarships. I mean, if you try, open your head a bit, right, you will see a lot of opportunities. For sure, I mean, for the a certain universities or institute, right, it costs you like a fortune to study there. I mean, we can't help to do to reduce that. I mean, but I mean, if you look at other universities, right, which is sort of like good enough around the world, there are scholarships, they are like, a better place to study without hustle yourself, like, sell your house just to study. I'm trying not to answer like in the political ways, but yeah, I think it would be good if it's free for everyone, but I don't think it's doable. I think it's doable in some certain levels and maybe perhaps like cities or country, but not like for the whole entire citizens. Thank you.
No one's asking again. There's another question. Will there be a major change in the manufacturing components of computers if more consumers will be purchasing electronics?
Come again, the major change in the
Manufacturing component of computers.
I think it's changing. And a change is like, it's continuously change. I mean, I mean, if you look at the 10 years back, right, if you buy a good laptop, right, it probably cost you like 40,000-50,000 baht, right? And now if you buy good laptops, right, it's only 20 something baht, so it's well, I mean, it become more affordable because of the need is higher, like it is simply economic. So if demand is increased, if the supply increase, so demand increase, so the price is there, so the price is decreased. So the change might not be to me, like, it's not the technological change in terms of the products or effective, like, the efficiencies, the quality of computer parts, it's gradually improved years by years anyhow. But I mean that but the thing that changed a lot to me is more than it's more to price and how we can make computer like more affordable to all people. I think that is a change I foresee. I mean, but if you look at the technological change, right? I mean, quantum computing is coming, and if the quantum computer is like, arrive, like and then I think the whole landscape of computers industry will be completely changed upside down. But I mean, I'm not sure when it's going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's coming pretty much sooner than we thought.
Okay, are there any last minute questions? Okay, well, since there seems to be more questions, we can start to wrap this up. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Rani, for speaking with us. It's such an honor, and we really appreciate it. And all the information seems to really be helpful, especially during this time since we don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, so this is going to be really quick, but we're going to do like a mini group photo. So is it okay if everyone turns on their cameras? And yeah, I think we need to stop sharing. So could you please
Oh, sure.
yeah, stop sharing your screen?
Oh, 1 second. What the hell? 1 sec. What did I do? How come? Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Mm. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it gallery mode. Okay, yeah. Okay. Please turn on your screen, you guys. If not, but okay. Okay. I guess are the others gonna turn on their camera? If not, then I guess we'll just do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank
Nice.
you. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much everyone for being in the best webinar. If you want to know about future events or more webinars like this, just feel free to check out our website, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We'll be now streaming our lives on YouTube instead of Facebook. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, and to our speaker. Yeah, you guys can leave since we're done. Yeah.